Alan Watts wrote about this decades ago, observing the exact point where Eastern philosophy meets our worst Western anxieties. What he saw back then hasn't changed a comma. Believer or skeptic, you have felt that silent exhaustion weighing heavily on your shoulders. That agonizing sensation of always being almost there, always tirelessly preparing for a real life that stubbornly refuses to begin. That is the narrow door this understanding opens today. From the very beginning of your life, through school and your family environment, you were told that your main purpose is to become someone. The basic premise of our entire culture is that you are born incomplete. You spend an absurd amount of your vital energy drawing a mental blueprint of what you should be in the future. A flawless professional, an unshakable person, someone truly authentic and respected. You wake up every single day and put on the tight clothes of this constantly evolving character. You adjust your tone of voice in every environment. You measure every single word you decide to utter with millimeter precision, and you calculate the impact of your actions. You run desperately toward an illusory future, faithfully believing that peace of mind is hidden just over there, right around the next corner. It must be in the next great achievement, the next salary bracket, the next perfect relationship, or the next phase of your personal development. Your current state is always judged as insufficient. You look in the mirror in the morning and see only a draft of a human being, a mere work in progress that needs constant fixing and a lot of effort to finally reach the finish line. You treat the present moment as a frustrating obstacle on the way to tomorrow. But there is something Watts said about this frantic race to fix yourself that changes absolutely everything. The crack in this collective illusion begins when you notice the madness of the most repeated advice society gives you. You have been told time and time again to simply be yourself. But pay attention to the broken mechanics behind this demand. You know when you are told to act naturally, and the exact second you try to force that naturalness, you become the most artificial and paralyzed person in the room. Watts called this the double bind. It is a perverse social game built with entirely contradictory rules. Society imposes an impossible demand. It tells you that you must be a free and spontaneous individual, but it demands that you prove this freedom by following the exact manual of conduct it has approved. It is a perfect psychological trap, a scenario where you are damned if you do and damned if you don't. Any forced movement you make based on this command will be fundamentally wrong, because spontaneity cannot be demanded as a duty. I know very well how this sounds. I thought exactly the same way the first time I heard it, assuming it was just cheap philosophical pessimism to justify inertia. But look closely at the ancient roots of what we so proudly call personality. You feel in your own body that you need to wear an armored face for work and a completely different face to deal with your family. The Greeks and Romans called this the persona. It was the clay mask with a small megaphone attached, used by actors in classical theater to project their voices to the back of the stands. The real problem begins when the show ends. The curtains close, the audience leaves, but you forget to get off the stage. You come to believe, with terrifying conviction, that your true flesh and blood face is that very same plastic mask. Society has trained you to act so well that the hypnosis has become permanent. You forgot it was a game. But it didn't stop here. It went deeper. The great turn of this understanding occurs when you realize the exact mechanism by which we were collectively hypnotized. The very language we use every day functions as a continuous trance. We have a grammatical habit of separating the doer from the action being done. We say things like, I breathe, I walk, or I think, as if there were a little isolated dictator inside your head operating the body. It is as if you were a lonely officer wearing headphones and controlling levers and television panels behind your own eyes. Language forces us to create grammatical ghosts. Think of the phrase, it is raining. Who is the invisible subject making the rain rain? There is no one. The rain is the action itself. In the exact same way, we created the illusory concept of a separate ego, an isolated ghost living inside a tight bag of skin, fighting daily against a mechanical and alien universe that is out there. Watts demonstrates relentlessly that this is the central fraud of our existence, the absolute basis of all our chronic anxiety. We are trapped in what he called the game of black and white. We have been taught to see the world as a fierce battle between opposites. Life versus death, light versus darkness, good versus evil, order versus chaos. We play the game as if white must win, completely ignoring the absolute fact that the crest of the wave cannot exist without the trough. You cannot have the solid without the space around it, just as you cannot have the sound without the silence. They go together. But because your conscious attention is narrowed, like a thin flashlight beam in a dark room, you only notice the specific bits you were trained to notice. You see the separate parts and forget the whole. You see the individual things and forget the space that connects them. This ego fiction is not essential to your life. It has no more physical substance than the equator line painted on a geographical map. The line does not actually exist in the ocean water. It is not a red rope floating in the sea. It is merely a useful abstraction for navigation. And trying to protect or fix an imaginary abstraction is exactly what keeps you anxious, tense, and sweating cold in the middle of the night. Your skin is not an impassable wall separating you from the world. It is a sensitive bridge full of pores that connects you to the entire universe. Differentiation does not mean separation, just as your fingers are different from each other, but they are not separated from your hand. Why does this happen? Why is it that the more you try to find your true essence or fix your mind, the more broken and fragmented you feel? It happens because you are using the mask itself to try to rip off the mask. Society has turned the continuous act of becoming someone into a highly profitable and impossible to deliver product. They sell you a future that, physically, never existed and never will exist. The future is a colossal hoax, the greatest of all mental illusions. When it finally turns into the present tense, you are so addicted to looking ahead, so conditioned to plan the next step, that you cannot live it at all. You have been conditioned since kindergarten to prepare yourself exhaustively for elementary school. Then they said the focus was high school. Then came the crushing pressure of the university and, subsequently, the fierce survival in the corporate job market. When you get there, the focus immediately shifts to retirement, the great final prize. And when retirement finally knocks on the door, you are sitting in a chair with ruined digestion, blurred vision, and false teeth. It is the tragic moment when you realize that you spent your entire life preparing exhaustively for something that never happened, because you unlearned how to exist in the now. Now you can, definitively, stop running against the wind. The enlightened, resolved, and perfect person you are desperately trying to become simply does not exist. It does not exist. And this didn't happen because you were weak, lazy, or because you failed in your painful process of continuous improvement. It does not exist because the very idea of becoming something in the distant future is a complete and absolute hallucination. You are not an alienated visitor who was thrown into this hostile world to dominate nature with the strength of your own intellect. You did not come into this world from outside it. You grew out of it, with the same naturalness and inevitability that green leaves grow from the branches of a tree during the spring. You are a unique action of the total universe. Just as the ocean waves, the universe peoples. Every single individual is an expression of the whole realm of nature. But you have been hypnotized into feeling like a brief, lonely light that flashes once in all the aeons of time, a rare and delicate organism on the fringe of biological evolution. That is the hallucination. The reality is that your true self is the entire network of relationships and processes that make up your environment. You are the Big Bang still happening right now, just doing it as a human being. Remember what you felt at the beginning of the video. That suffocating and constant sensation of never reaching your own finish line, of always running on a treadmill that accelerates with every step. You never cross the finish tape because there is no tape to be crossed. The goal of existence was never to reach a mythical stage where you become an ice statue immune to anger, grief, or fear. The real goal was to realize that the play is just a wonderful and complex game. It is exactly like listening to music. If you play or listen to a piece of music simply to reach the final chord, you are entirely missing the point. The point of the music is the dancing pattern of the sound itself, unfolding in the present. Your frantic acting on the stage of society is not your unchanging essence. When you realize the first great mistake about the search for authenticity, you understand that the worst possible trap is not being fake on stage. The fatal trap is blindly believing in the reality of your own character, forgetting that you put it on voluntarily. You are under absolutely no obligation to destroy your ego in an epic battle of spirituality, just as you do not need to destroy your bathroom mirror just because you do not like the momentary reflection. You just need to stop taking this Greek actor so seriously. True freedom does not arise when you try to obliterate your identity, but when you understand that it is merely a useful fiction, a necessary social agreement to pay the bills and make appointments, but which does not define who you are beneath the surface. Life can and should be lived entirely in the vibrant space of the present tense, completely free of this crushing pressure to have to prove your worth to invisible audiences. The universe did not write a severe moral script that you must interpret without making any mistakes under the gaze of strict judges. Liberation happens exactly at the moment when the mental obligation to become someone crashes to the ground with all its dead weight. What remains beneath the rubble of all your broken expectations is just the living, pure, and direct experience of existing right now. The mask falls and hits the floor. It doesn't fall because you fought a violent and prolonged war against it, but because you realized, with a serene and silent humor, that you never needed it to breathe the air around you. There is absolutely no bright future hidden in the horizon with the power to save you. And, for the first time in your entire life, realizing this doesn't sound like a terrifying tragedy or a pit of nihilism. It sounds like immense, warm, and liberating relief. The exhausting game is over. Let go of this invisible weight. Stop acting, and just watch the breathing happen by itself.